Welcome to the Leads Are Shit. This is a real estate magazine podcast, and here with us we've got Andrew Fogliato, the owner of Real Estate Magazine, and also the founder of Just Sell Homes. Just Sell Homes is a marketing company that you can use as a real estate agent so that you can focus on just selling homes. Like me, that's kind of what I do. My name is Taylor Hack. I'm a team leader in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. My real estate career has progressed. I've done a bunch of things as far as solo agent and team leader, out of production team leader, back in production team leader. I got you covered.
Then you're
Good to
good.
see you, Andrew.
You too. It's been a while. Been a
Hey,
couple
good to
weeks.
see you, Jeff from Peterborough.
Yeah.
First one
Yeah.
into the
Ooh,
chat.
just barely beat Tyler from St. John's. Then we got Miles. Miles, saw your email.
If
Great
you're wondering
stuff.
what the
I
heck
love
we're
it.
talking about, you're probably
Just the
getting us a
chat.
different way. Like you might
Yeah.
be seeing this on YouTube, catching this on a
Yeah.
podcast
You're
platform,
late.
and you could be here live because we have a great audience that we talk to all the time. Miles from
Yeah.
Lethbridge, also been in my email lately.
Yeah. Don't forget, if you're in the chat, set your thing to everyone instead of just hosts and panelists, because Shannon, no one else knows you're from Prince George except Taylor and I. So set it to everybody so everyone can see it.
See, Andrew must use some special settings because last week, for the first time, when I was here with Connie, who is awesome. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Connie Sarvanandan. Um, in the little drop down menu, I had like an everyone thing in my chat. And every other time, I don't know if it's in the settings, but I'm able to talk to you and hosts and panelists. So
So you are probably not so as the host, you're a panelist, I'm a
yeah,
host.
yeah,
So I don't know that you have the same control that I have as host. I'd
I
have to
definitely
make
don't.
you, I will make you co-host right
Yeah,
now and
well,
you
I
can
like the fact
see
that I get
the
to answer on the
wonderful world.
mic and I
Yeah.
don't answer in the chat, but I definitely see the chat.
Well,
So
you are the co-host now, so you should have the same permissions that I do. We'll let you
live on
talk to
air
people
promotion
now.
right now.
Yeah.
You guys
Yeah,
heard it first.
you'll be back down on the next one.
Getting that co-host money.
Yeah. It'll be
Uh,
good.
okay,
All
so
right.
we haven't seen you in a couple of weeks. Last week we were talking about getting started with artificial intelligence with Connie, and one time about how she put a dragon on a building in New York when she worked for HBO.
Must be Game of
Um,
Thrones related.
it was. She was part
Yeah.
of the marketing team at Game. She was an executive on the marketing team during Game of Thrones for HBO.
Nice.
But man, does she ever get a good grip on what is like right within arm's reach right now when it comes to artificial intelligence, which I really liked.
There's a article going viral right now from the Atlantic about AI in real estate, and it's basically a full article crapping on agents who use AI in their listing photos. And
Yeah, yeah.
they compare it to people catfishing on Tinder.
Yeah, it totally is.
And
I just
yeah,
brought this issue to my broker
yeah,
because there is a listing on the south side that basically had three different versions of the house
yeah.
that were renovated in a house that isn't renovated and much fewer pictures of the actual house the way it is now
Yeah.
in an order that made it really confusing.
So like I'm okay with it if it's like, here's what the house is here, and just like on the photo it would show it like potential renovation, like show them what it could look like. But it has to be
Mhm.
very clearly, here's what it is today. Here's what you could do. And like give them a few options that way. If it's here's the house and then here's the fake version, that I'm not for. Because what the article was saying is like what they kept noticing, because they interviewed some agents for it, was people coming to a showing and immediately being disappointed, which
Yeah.
is not a good brand experience.
Have you ever had anybody serve you anything and say something like, this is going to be the best steak you've ever had in your life?
Yeah.
The
We all
moment
want
that
a low
sentence is
bar.
out, you've ruined it.
Yeah. It
Because the
has to be
best
the
steak
best
in your
thing.
life actually happens on happenstance, and it's often related to other things going on that day or in your life. It's like
Yeah.
the you that you delivered to the table might be super hungry.
Well, so this is a joke I use sometimes when I'm talking to people about it. Like, when people are like, well, what's the best meal you've ever had or favorite meal? And I was like, it's not a specific food. It was like the best meal I ever ate was the first meal after an 8-day canoe trip where we like basically ran out of food and we're just like scrounging and just like putting things together. So that first real meal after 8 days, it's like the same, like the best shower is the first shower after an 8-day canoe trip with hot water is the best shower you'll ever have outside of
Yeah,
a
it's
20
not
day canoe
based on the
trip.
food being good when you're in perfect condition.
Yeah.
It's based on the you deliver to the table.
Yeah. Like Tom Hanks, when he came back on Castaway, that first meal he had will be the best meal of his life, and he will never chase that high again.
Hmm.
Right. It's like those are where it's hard to
Yeah, speaking of that, one of my
replace.
best meals was Jamaican patties after
Yeah.
getting off out of a catamaran right in the middle of the afternoon. And I was hungry as all get out because I was also very high.
Yeah.
Hashtag
That
Jamaica.
happens. That happens. Craig, I'm sorry for spoiling Castaway for you, the 20-year-old movie. Um, by the way, Bruce Willis is dead the whole time. Um, little spoiler alert for you. Um,
Awkward.
right? Um, yeah, classic.
So we were so where we last left off was us just coming back after no, was it after have we been on air since Toronto? Yeah, we did.
Yes,
We were
we
at the
did that
Thursday and then
Thursday.
one missing
Then
and
I
then
was
back
off,
here.
and then I'm back. Yeah,
Yep. And we've been kind of talking in general about just kind of the time of year, right?
yeah,
Because
and
right
it's
now
crap.
it's the grindy part of real estate. You know,
Grindy
like
part of the year.
yeah, a lot of times the market is coming to you kind of from like I don't know, tell us what it is in your market in the chat. But for me, I would definitely say that the market is reactive, like coming my way from May until October. And then on the fringes of that, it's kind of balanced where I have to go and find people to work with as much as they're kind of coming to me. And then in this time of year, I really feel like if you coast, it's going to affect your spring. So the activities that we focus on this time of year are really key to like loading that eventual outcome.
And are you, my curiosity for you and people in the chat, like right now, the people reaching out, are they to list soon? Are they talking about the spring? Like, what are the conversations you're having today when people are
Um,
reaching out?
that's actually the cool thing that I've learned is to set my eyesight at anybody who wants to talk about real estate in 2026. You want to talk about it in the fall if you want to, if you don't know what your timeline is, but you think it's this year. I want to meet everybody because that opens my filter the widest. And
Yeah.
this time of year, I don't worry about that too much. And then what I find is I'll meet people that aren't able to action right now. And sometimes it's because the properties that they're looking for just have a really low frequency of opportunity this time of year. Like
Yeah.
I have some folks that are looking for an acreage and they're going to be paying a lot of attention to any acreage that comes up. But the amount of things that match their search are going to come at a frequency of once a week because we did the math. But right now, there's only one active, and it's been like that for over a month.
What a great opportunity to go knock on doors of people not listed of what they might want or send letters to their ideal houses.
Yeah. And if we charge twice as much for our buyer service, we would do that.
Yeah.
But in this case, yeah, like we would absolutely get involved that way.
Yeah.
But right now, that's not a problem that we're solving directly. Mainly what we're looking at is saying, like, let's have these strategy sessions. So you and I
Yeah.
have talked about it, and I need to talk about this more on short form video.
Okay.
Is there is this many weeks until the spring market. So right now, 10 weeks until we say the spring market starts, 8 weeks until we say the spring market starts. Well, can you get a set of windows in that time? Can you do a kitchen in that time? You could do some pretty big things in 8 weeks, depending on what your market's like. But
So,
if it's only 3 weeks from the spring market starting and you want to be there right around that time, then I think that you might only be able to do things like paint and flooring.
so right now, what, how many short form videos are you filming a day?
Not a day. So basically, I wanted to get to three a week.
Yeah.
And then this buddy of mine, he's like, "You got to come to Toronto. We're gonna go talk to this brokerage." And
I
it
know
screwed.
him.
So I've found that like since I made that dedication, like getting to
Yeah.
the place where I can do that is such a challenge. So I've been working through that. So for those people that have seen Braden on the podcast, that when I'm looking to make a new initiative, I actually sell out my time pretty effectively. So we have to like find places to make this happen. And right now, he's kind of treating me like an athlete. And he's
Yeah.
like, hey, most of the pucks you shoot totally miss the net. But these three were zingers. So how
Yeah.
do we get you into the zone of three more and out of this other zone? Let's kind of take a look at your form. And what we've learned is that the pre-production is doing the idea itself, but then you need to account for some time to like flesh that idea out so it's a good deliverable. And then you need to form it in a video. So it should start with a hook. And then if you're using the format process, it's why, how, or no, why, what, how, now. And then you have to have your call to action.
No.
So then there's that component. And at that point, you should have your copy and you should know what you're about to say and then delivery. Because I grip it and rip it all the time. You could do that too. But I should deliver like a couple of these like better formulated videos. And then I can fill that in with like cannon fodder of just like the stuff I thought of right then.
So how I would start doing it, because like I haven't hosted one now in like a year. But like actually January, February last year, we hosted a bunch of them on workshops on how to get clients from Instagram. And a big part of the front part of that process is reels.
Hmm.
And from working with a lot of people, walking them through it, us doing it, stop overthinking. And it's like, yes, you want to put that thought into those pieces, but like minimum when you're getting going with it is put out one a day. And like when you get that process down, it's a 6 minute process from start to finish because you can do it so simply, but they still get results. Like literally, I'll like the biggest thing is ideas. So like what I'll do like once a week is I'll sit down, just come up with as many ideas as I can. And we base there's four components to like a good content idea, which I can go through. Like we have four buckets of what ideas fall into, which we've talked about. I'll go over it again. And then I just fill in those four. Like I'll put four columns in a spreadsheet, write down as many ideas for each one. And then I'll look at the list each morning. And this is when I was posting daily. I'm not doing that right now. I would just look at the list and be like, all right, which one am I comfortable with talking about right now? And I'll take that idea. I'll go over to AI. I'll be like, give me 20 hook ideas for this. I word it better than that because that's a shit prompt. But I will come in and like I have a specific way that I word asking for hooks. I look at which ones kind of sound like me, grab that, and done. And I shoot it. I keep these videos 45 to 60 seconds. I might go up to 90 if it takes that long. And then I'll add a simple call to action. If I don't have something I'm specifically promoting, it's just go to my page and follow me. If I want to promote something lead gen wise, I do that. I throw it into an app, add captions to it, post. When you have that process down, that is 6 to 7 minutes a day. And it is the fastest way to get good at doing reels.
Okay,
And
so
and the one piece there is like look at the numbers from all these reels, right? So when you're looking at like I want to get a really good piece going, look for whichever one of these reels you're doing that's getting 3 or 4 times more views than the rest of yours. And that's the one you now put more thought into. Can I take this up a notch and make it even better? Because at the beginning, especially at like the size you'd be at, like you're probably going to get on a bad reel 100 views, good reel 3 to 500, and then the ones that pop off early on this way will get 1,000, 1,500. And then you take that 1,000, 1,500 one and you start refining it and you build like the best version of it. And that's the one that can really go. But it's like we found just the best way is just start throwing them out there. But the four content buckets are really easy. And this is why we keep it this way. So the first one is just what are the most common questions you get? And the hook for that, what I like about common questions is the hook is literally just say the question, right? So like, what's a bully offer? Let's talk about it, right? That's look, anyone who wants to know what a bully offer is, they're going to stop and watch. Then questions they don't know to ask, but should be asking you. So that one, again, really simple. We all know that there's things that buyers and sellers should be talking to you and asking you about. They just have no idea about it. That you can't say the question because they don't know what it is. So you lead with the potential negative outcome of what them not asking that could lead to. And then so it'd be like, do you want to make sure this doesn't happen when you buy a home or sell a home? Let's talk about, and then you repeat what that is. And then you go into it. Then the third one are pain points and frustrations. And that your hook is basically just, are we trying to like, have you experienced this? Here's how you fix it. So you're kind of like, be like, you've probably dealt with this. And you can get into like the creative hooks that you see out there, adapt. And it's like, put a finger down if you've ever experienced that. Like, that one. Like, you can get into like that stuff. But essentially, you're just like, have you felt and experienced this pain? So have others. As a professional realtor, here's how you avoid that. And then the last one are aha moments. So these are the hardest one to come up with from an idea, but I can already tell you anytime I make one all around this, those are the reels that I guarantee every time are going to do better. Like I know which, and for me, like when I do on stages, I know these are the points that get the most. I know when I'm on podcasts, if I'm like a guest on someone else's podcast, if I hit like one of these three things and work it into the conversation, those are the ones that are going to drive me phone calls, people who want to work with us. Those are the ones where like people's eyes go wide, or they do like, oh, that's smart, or they lean in and they're like, fuck, I never thought of that. That's really smart. That like whenever you get that reaction on anything, you have to create as much content as possible around that singular idea. But those are the four we look at: the common questions, questions I don't know to ask, aha moments, and the pain points and frustrations. And then it's just hit that as many times as you can. And you train hook. So like if you want to test it, and again, like it's really easy, do trial reels. Are you familiar with trial reels? You know
Uh,
what that is?
where you can run a test.
So basically, yeah, like you can film a reel and you can do like five at once, post them at once, because they're not going to show them to your followers. So they're trialing it with people who don't know you. So like this is one that a lot of like big creators will do is they'll release like 10 versions of the same thing with different hooks, different backgrounds, different things like that. And they'll look at which one did the best, then they'll delete them all, and then that's the one that gets posted on the main account. And in terms of like going to their followers and all that too. He's like, all right, we've tested it. This one's the best one. So it just gives you that ability to like rapidly. Now, I'm not suggesting you on your own go film 10 versions and post them,
No, I'd
but
use this
two,
differently.
three. Yeah.
I would use it like how you were saying as a way to iterate. You would want to basically like find a way to determine why a video got more. Well,
Yeah.
I would take a video that did better and I would replicate it in a few different ways to try to tease out what I think was it subject matter? Was it the hook?
Yeah.
If I use the hook in it for a different subject, and that way you could try to learn what's going on here. Now, I just want to make sure that everybody else caught this because I didn't get it all the way. You were saying common questions into pain points as well as aha moments. What were the other two?
So common questions is the first one.
Yep.
That's the easiest one to come up with ideas for. The second one is questions people should be asking, but they don't know to ask. So the example I always use there, and we got some cottage people in here, so they'll know what I'm talking about. Um, Cabins and camps, depending on where you are, lake houses. But it's in Ontario, there's a thing called the road shore allowance, which basically allows the municipality that between your cottage and the lake, if there's a road shore allowance, they could come and put a road between your cottage and the water line. So if you're buying a cottage, you want to know, is there a road shore allowance? And if I got this wrong and you're in a cottage agent, don't correct me. But essentially, that's what it is. So, but most buyers, if they've never worked in cottage, would have no idea that road shore allowances even exist. They wouldn't know to ask about it.
Okay.
So
So we
that's
got common
great content.
questions, but
Yeah.
then also the question they should be asking, aha moments, and there's a fourth.
Pain points and frustrations. This what causes them headaches? Why do they get annoyed at things? What are any part of the problem? And this doesn't have to be specific to you. Like it could be related to saving a down payment. It could be just a frustration in their house. Like the example we used when we were on stage there together in Mississauga was like we had a client in Toronto where a lot and this like this very specific neighborhood, the way the homes were built, there was no good place inside or out to leave a stroller. So the frustration and pain point for their group was stroller parking. Like that. And so they're like, all right, well, here's your options. And like obviously the best option is move. But there's certainly other options around that. But that is a legitimate, if you know your audience really well, frustration. So it's what are those pain points, either about their home, about the process, about any of it. And then
Hmm.
you offer your solve. But if you write those four things down on like a spreadsheet or a piece of paper and then just like brainstorm every idea you can come up with related to that. And if you're struggling, go common questions, questions I don't know how to ask. Describe who your ideal client is to ChatGPT and say, give me 50 questions that this demographic would have about selling a home in Edmonton.
Mm.
And some of
And
a bunch of ones they send will be terrible. But
right.
if you ask for 50, you'll get 10 good ones. And then you repeat it.
Yeah, that's something that definitely can kind of help you work this out. So you're turning this into a really tight program. Let's kind of keep going along that line.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we hear in Edmonton is like street parking.
Yeah.
So this is more likely in newer neighborhoods. So the concern is that when they buy a house that they're just going to have cars in front of their house all the time.
Yeah.
And what we could do is help them determine where that's more likely.
Yeah. So like then there's different ways I'd even go about that content, right? It's like
Okay.
there's one where you're just explaining it, kind of like, hey, if this is a concern of yours, here's how we solve that. But then there's also like variations around why is it this way? Right? Because like people they don't understand why it's set up the way it is. So you're kind of coming and being like, you have concerns about street parking. Here's why street parking in this area is an issue or not an issue. It's like, here's what the concern is. Here's how it came about. Now here's what we can do about it. And that's good for those people just like a general curiosity who just like want to know random tidbits. So they'll stick around to be like, why is street parking in this area an issue? Let's talk about it. It's because of this thing that happened this long ago and yada, yada, yada.
Okay.
Um, and then again, I would also do versions of that. Again, this goes back to what you have resource time wise, but like do it while standing there, right? Like go stand where the street parking is with cars all around you. Um, and then again, if you want to get into editing and production, there's other levels where you can like do some humor with it, where it's like, if you are always concerned about what you can do, here's some ways to make sure people don't park in your spot. And you can go be like, sit in a lawn chair with nothing on in a parking spot in front of your house, holding it for someone to get back. Uh, Probably not for you, but here's some other ways you can deal with your parking. Um, but yeah, just lots of like, and you can attack that one topic probably in like 10 different ways. And it's just come back to it again and see which language of that kind of resonates most. So like where I'd start is think about the conversations you've had with specific clients around this. What was something you said that kind of either got them over the edge, got them over the hump, or made them go look elsewhere because they didn't want it? Because there are people who will like they're fine with it. There's people who would be fine with it if they just realized this, and there's people who no matter what they will not buy it because of the issue. Um, and you're kind of create content for each of them.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to flesh this out because I like when it's quick, and I normally can flesh these things out pretty quick. So I'm just going to take a swing at what we're talking about here because this is part of my plan right now. So what I would be addressing is the fact that the problem. So the problem is your friends coming to visit have nowhere to park. Skip the dishes is circling the block. Where the hell did all these cars come from?
Yeah,
And then so that's why. And then I would go to what. Well, street parking is a problem when density exceeds capacity. Here's the contrast. This street has duplexes, more people per unit, smaller, less garages, and less driveways or auxiliary parking. So you'll notice that anytime everybody's at home, evenings, weekends, all the time when you would like somebody to be able to park in front of your house, there's somebody already there. However, this street behind me has houses that have front attached garages that each have auxiliary parking for two vehicles in front. Then they also have street parking in front, and they're larger houses that are further apart, so you don't see as many people per square foot of parking. So you'll notice that this street, at the same time on the same day, is actually quite a bit easier to have visitors over.
Yep.
So when you're looking at your next house, you really have to think about your lifestyle and decide, is shoveling that outside corner worth having somebody be able to come by and park more easily?
And I would pick like one of those scenarios at a time as the hook, right? So like the DoorDash, Uber driver, that's everything. Like that is
Yeah,
one
this
video's
was
hook.
my
The next one
draft.
is people coming over. But that's the where you get into the trials, the trial reels, right? Because like which one of those, like if I'm looking at them right away, I would say like DoorDash and Uber has a really good chance because you could like open with the DoorDash logo in it, which is something that hooks people in. And if there's DoorDash plus they can see it's clearly Edmonton, it gets people to like lean in and be like, what's this? So now you're already getting a little bit of visual hook before you get even to what you're saying. Be like, do you want to make sure you buy a house that your DoorDash driver doesn't deliver your food cold? And you kind of go into that. But then the other side of that is you could be like, you ever wondered why, you stopped hosting because no one can find a parking spot at your house.
Totally.
Again, you're testing out those different pieces of the hooks. Um, and then I'd keep the like reasoning why on one like that fairly tight. And I'd just be like, because of the zoning issues or because of zoning in this, where they only require this many parking spots per units, it's created the situation where this is going on. Here's how you can solve that. This street over here, yada, yada, yada. Here's the trade-off. And like you kind of really quickly, it's like I would specifically be using the word zoning because that's a trigger to people that you understand the issues in this area. So like that's a word that, and maybe it's not in Edmonton. I know if like here we talk a lot about zoning stuff. So it's like, what is that term? Is it a bylaw? Is it a like how is the Edmonton Council deal like regulate parking? Here would be zoning. So like I'm thinking of like a project we're doing around. It's like when we're talking about parking as an issue, it's like, well, zoning requires this specific parking rules in this area. And because of that, here's where we are. Here's what that's looking like. Here's the solve. But again, it's mirroring back the language they would use when they're thinking about it. But what is that language in your area that makes you look like the knowledgeable expert that they'd still understand?
Yep. So definitely, like once you make a draft, you want to tighten it up so
Yeah.
each part is sharp. So what my end video would probably have me standing in one house pointing in the other house, like in the other place pointing to tighten everything up.
Yeah.
So I explain it more concisely. And then
Yeah.
how to avoid this, my solution suggestion would be look at like type properties. So if you're buying a house with a driveway across the street, you want other houses with driveways. If you see duplexes across the street, think three times as many cars. And then taking a look at understanding how this works and where it is. Well, you don't need to because you can bring us with you. And
Yeah.
then the now part would be to just give us a call and we'll show you how to make sure that you end up in a place where, this isn't an issue.
Yeah. And if you want to do like some editing, if you don't want to just do like one shot videos, I like one shots because it makes my life easier. And that's how I can get out a video every single day in 6 or 7 minutes. But if you're willing to add that extra step, you could be like standing on a street that's just lined with cars and then cut to one that has like two and be like, I'm only a block and a half away.
Yeah.
This is what paying
And then you
attention to means.
And even if you don't want to edit, you do the first part. Like if you have a script, you do your first part of the video, then you stop, you drive over to the other one, and you just do the second half of the video with one cut.
Yeah. And
And
that's still you
and
gotta stitch them. But some people, like just from my experience, even stitching is too much for some people.
yep. And
And
I would
so
do it right inside of the platform, right
yeah,
inside of Instagram Reel. Just add another one. And what the idea would be is in the beginning, don't do anything like this.
yeah,
Just tell
keep
them
it
about it.
simple. Do it at your
Then
desk.
when you go,
Like
then one time when you're like, hey, how am
that's
I
it.
going to improve my videos? Okay, I'm going to be open to one single edit because I'll get this video type that I
Yeah.
want. Then you
Yeah.
learn that technique so that you can deploy it over and over again.
Yeah. And how I do it, like when I've and there's a couple things I learned. So like on my phone, when I'm doing a video, I use the front camera
Hmm.
and then I turn it and I film it like this because the video quality is better. And you notice how it still shows me pretty well. I'm on zero point 0.5 zoom.
Hmm.
That looks better when you're filming reels than this typically. I like to try both, but I found in my experience the engagement, I get better like that. So I do zero point 0.5 zoom with the front camera because then the other thing it stops is I'm here, I'm looking at the camera, so now it looks like I'm talking to you. Whereas when I film it this way,
You look at
I'm looking at
yourself.
myself. And
Hmm.
you want it to be looking at the person because again, a lot of the idea with videos, and this is where a lot of people screw up, is like if you open your video with like, "Hey guys, Taylor's back," right? It's now you've immediately called out that you're not talking to them directly.
Totally.
Like I always like film it like you're FaceTiming your friend. It's like that's the impression you want them to have. So like you're talking to one person, you're doing it very easily, so you want to be able to look them in the eyes, talk to them that way,
Yeah,
and
think
that's
about
what
it
I
as
do.
1 to 1 multiplied, not
Yeah.
1 to all.
Yeah. Like,
And
hi
I always
guys, hi
say your
everyone. I
favorite
hate that.
cousin.
Yeah.
Somebody that you know well enough that you get their problems, but that they're at that level of family that not all the weird shows.
Yeah. And then the other thing I always remind people if you're just getting into video, the way that people say the camera adds 10 pounds, it also cuts your personality in half. It's a very simple reason why. Like, think about if you weren't here and I was giving all these tips. I would have to now kind of do all the energy of like talking to a black circle on my computer. And that's a very different experience. Like you feel more subdued because everything's quiet. There's no anything in the room. Whereas even just talking to you, even though it's virtual, like I'm talking to you more like if we were having a beer together and we're just shooting the shit. But that, I mean, even because we're on Zoom together, there's still some energy that's coming up from that. But most people, when they film, they're like trying to go somewhere quiet so like the noise doesn't get in the way. And then that's you're in a no energy room. So like when most people like seem wooden on camera, it's because they're matching the
Mm.
energy of the room they're in. So you got to kind of purposely, puff out your chest a bit and up the level of your voice, like you're trying to talk across a room to someone. And that comes across on camera as normal.
Hmm.
And that's like those, you make that shift of like add 50% to your energy level and then just start doing these videos quick. And you'll notice immediately that's when people will be like, you're really good on camera. And like literally that's the shift. It's just puff up, add the energy in, and you're good because now you're gonna come. I learned this from Tom Ferry, watching him. Have I told you this story before? I think I probably have.
Hmm.
I don't know. I was at an event with Tom, and we were so this is like he probably wouldn't even remember me because for him it would have been like this like 11, 12 years ago. Very small interaction. I was at the back of the room. I was like a trainer for a brand that he was speaking at their big event. And him and I were just shooting the shit in the back while he was waiting to go up. And one of the event organizers come and be like, Tom, can you shoot a video? And I was like, this is my first time meeting him. And I was like, man, this guy's really engaging. I had no idea what to expect because you never know. And I was like, this guy is so engaging, so entertaining, so down to earth, so likable. I was like, I can see why he's successful. And then they came, they handed the camera to him, and they're like, can you shoot a little video for the people who couldn't make it today but want to come tomorrow? And he shoots the video and immediately changes his entire personality in my eyes to the point I was like, oh, I kind of don't like this version. Like inauthentic. I don't
Too
like it.
much.
Yeah. And then I saw the video that night and he came across as the guy I was talking to at the back of the room. And it was just like, it was that light bulb moment of like, oh shit. And you're like, how, why, how did this? And then you start thinking like, okay, yeah, no, I get it now. And ever since I made that switch because of that. Um,
Yep.
and it made
Well,
a
you
huge
always bring
impact.
different versions of yourself. You actually have
Yeah.
different versions of yourself.
Yeah.
And so the in-person version, we were just talking about the difference between the podcast versions of us and the onstage versions of us.
Yep.
And that's something that's good to acknowledge because you got to kind of bring the right teammate up, right? When it's
Yeah.
time to be interested, you need to do that. When it's time to be
Yeah.
interesting, you need to have that energy. It's really important to also know how you're being received because sometimes you're like, this is actually something I see with new agents and open houses all the time.
Yeah.
When they're amped up, oh God, I'm going to go talk to a stranger. Oh shit, right? When they feel like that, the volume goes real high.
Yeah.
When I hear teammates on the phone, I know if they feel as though it's going well when they're new because they get loud. Hi there. I'm here to talk about real estate. Like it's pretty wild, but it's something
Anytime
you got to work yourself out of.
and they always need to just listen to Anthony Brown talk on the phone.
Yeah,
That'll get
he's
you
just
there.
the same
Yeah.
level all the time.
Yeah. But it's so like he's like the way you can like hear his smile through the phone.
Mm.
It's a different he makes you want a cold call. Like it's the weirdest experience. If you ever have a conversation with him about cold calling, you'll leave it being like, I would love cold calling. And it is not for me.
I wonder if it's who you imagine on the other side of the phone.
So
Like maybe
his
there's
is
a
his
way.
mindset. That's what he talks about. Is he says he's going into every call saying his goal is not to sell anyone. His goal is not to even talk real estate. It's a very East Coast thing. It's I'm calling them just to make their day a little bit brighter. So his goal is to add some sunshine to their life, essentially. Of I'm making this call and they're going to leave happier one way or the other. So how am I going to accomplish that? And we'll like obviously steer the conversation towards real estate, but I'm going to brighten their day a little bit on this call. And so
Mm.
his view of cold calling, the way he frames it, is kind of like this idea of I'm getting on the phone every day to make people's lives a little bit better. There's a little bit of sunshine. And like the way he explains, you're just like, that was good. And then he does really well with it. Um, but you just can't help but I'm very curious though if his same cold calling style would work in like Toronto versus like the East Coast. There's someone who went viral on TikTok a couple of like a year ago. It was pretty funny where she would just randomly call people on the East Coast of Canada and pretend she knew them and end up going into like 45-minute conversations with random people, and they never were rude to her. They always like jumped into these beautiful, long, intimate conversations. And it's just like the funniest experience. Like that wouldn't work almost anywhere else. So I'd be curious to how well his would work outside.
Well, Anthony works in the area that has a different breed of redneck from my domestic
Yeah,
environment. Like we're snow
a little bit.
rednecks and he's got sea
Yeah,
rednecks. But
yeah,
I think that like, come to the back door as a friend approach to life like applies here
yeah,
and there.
yeah,
But when I have friends in Toronto, Toronto is more direct and colder. So much more people are like looking, they seem to be on the barrier, like the way to get in is they want like you to be direct first.
yeah.
And then once they're connected to you, it's normal like everywhere else, it seems.
Yeah.
But then I went down to Boston and holy crap, are they direct?
Yes. The American directness is very different.
Oh, just like
Yeah,
in your face. Like, how much money can you get me right now? Like, they don't even want to talk about the process. They're like, the end result is money to me.
yeah.
How much? I don't care who.
It's
And it's
actually
like,
both
okay.
one of my favorite and at times least favorite part of like going to New York City is like you always know where you stand with people when you're there if they're from there. Like they always will just all the way one way, all the way in the other. When they're one way, they are lovely people. But they can go the other way hard. And they just don't, I don't know if they don't care or they just don't see it as rude, but it's wildly entertaining just to like always know exactly where you stand with anybody at any time.
I think that's a density thing. I think when you put
Yeah.
too many people in close contact, the way that they have
Yeah.
to establish borders through being
Yeah.
able to just
Yeah. You got to
unload
be.
on somebody and yell at them or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or snip them up. They have to like develop this shell. And then you also have the other warm part, but they don't show it to as many people. And the
Yeah.
contrast makes it kind of awesome.
Yeah. That's it's always the fun side of it's like again knowing who your audience is and what they need.
Hmm.
And that's part of the fun. Like some areas you can be a little more like spend that minute or two. Oh, it's like, oh, there's a book. I forget who's a it's like dealing with different cultures. So like the things you need to know and it like walked through the norm. So like some
Oh,
countries
yeah. The book
and
is
cultures,
called Kiss, Bow, or Shake Hands.
yes, that's the
Yeah,
one. And it's like
sure.
how you do things like some cultures you got to go right to the point. Others, it's expected to have 10 to 15 minutes at the beginning of every meeting just to like be personal and like chat about how your weekend was and like those random little like let's talk life before we talk business. Others is like you got to go right to business. If it goes
Yeah.
well,
Well,
you
with
might earn the
French
right to
people,
talk about it.
Asking what you do for work is a gross question.
Yeah.
Oh, you are going to limit me to who I am in my workplace.
Yeah.
You know, it's they just like reject that premise. And then on the other
Yeah.
side is I find with English, you're expected to be soft with questions and direct with responses. Like when people ask
Yeah.
you a question, they're looking for a direct response, but they actually think a lot before asking questions, less direct. But
Yeah.
then I have teammates that are from Vietnam, and their method is that the questions are just like straight direct, but you're allowed to be evasive with your answers.
Yeah.
So it would lead you to a different outcome or a
Yeah. And
different approach, I guess.
I always like to know like this one because we work with people who like target different cultures with their marketing to try to like buy, sell, all that. And it's like you have to know these things coming into it. Like some cultures, like smiling is seen as like more of a weakness thing,
Totally.
right? And like so others, they don't want you to smile because it'll actually hurt you and not make you
Yeah.
seem as much of an expert. And it's like, or even like the really easy one with like if you're dealing with someone from China, like holding their business card with both hands when you give it. And when you get it back, you got to take it with both hands and like be visibly looking at and admiring it and then put it in a certain pocket, right? Like all
Yeah,
those
your
things
special
come into play.
pocket. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like all those little things if you don't know about it. Um, but I'm curious the flip side of that. If those cultures come here, are they expecting it? Like, are they trying to adapt here? And how's that? Like, how does their mindset change on it? Because that book is about like, if you go to this country, here's what they're expecting.
Hmm.
But when they come here, they would have their version of that book for here, and you're trying to accommodate them, and it ends up into that fun, like, where's the line of where the overlap is?
It's tough to see your own, like,
Yeah.
especially subconscious body language signals.
Yeah. You know, the
So,
best
for
example of that is
example,
the CIA one. Have you heard this one?
hmm,
So this is how most during the Cold War, most people in the CIA got caught undercover in Europe is they lean against buildings because Europeans don't lean, whereas
ah,
Canadians and Americans are very big, like they're out in like a city in Europe and they'll like lean against the building while they're watching for something. And that's something that no one, so like one of the biggest things they had to train before they sent people to Russia was never lean against a building because that's how they immediately know you're not from here.
because those are things like if you ask somebody to show them, like, oh, how many people are you with? And they hold up their hand,
Yeah.
like the German Three from
Yeah.
the Quentin
Yeah.
Tarantino movie, right?
Yeah. It's just a great movie. That one.
And so there's little things like that. A lot of people don't realize that when guys like you and I walk past each other on the street, we always make eye contact. If we know each other, we nod
Yeah.
upward with our chin. If we don't
Yeah.
know each other, we nod downward.
The little,
And this
little,
communicates to each, and we purse our lips. Yeah, it's kind of
yeah.
a smile, but not really.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Cordial.
like really, when you take a look at what that's about, that's actually about dangerous people. Like the people that came to America and to Canada were often armed and often concerned that the people that they were interacting with didn't know how to be civilized because there were so many people that didn't. So they developed these little codes to kind of determine if they should be like, reaching for trouble, right? Like
Yeah.
reaching for their weapon.
Yeah.
But it's
I
it's
love
neat
all
to
those
see
little
that.
things.
It's the same
Uh,
reason a handshake is done uh, with most people's dominant hand is because you would never give up your weapon hand to someone else.
yeah. And now it's like one of the things they teach you is if you're ever at like a networking event, always hold your drink with your other hand because you don't want to shake someone with like the condensation coming off on your hand.
Yeah, well, a lot of people are sensitive to like how it comes, like even come out of the washroom, like you washed your hands and then you're like, well, my hands are wet, but
Yeah.
it still doesn't seem cool.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, don't worry. I just washed.
But also touching people is a big deal.
Yeah.
This was like when you meet people that you haven't met in a while, when you meet people, when it's going from being like a friend to like going at their kitchen table for real estate.
Yeah.
To like shake hands with the dude and then depending on how close you are with them to give her a hug or whatever, like that's the way I roll, but it's probably different where you are.
Yeah. Well, have you ever gone for a hug and then you realize you did not have a hugging relationship with someone? That's very awkward.
No, because I have like a
I've
hug
done it.
checklist inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say that, looking like me has some drawbacks. Like I'll never drive the babysitter home on my own ever, ever. Like I just
Yeah.
won't. I'll never be in the car with a lady on my own that's not my wife because I am terrified of HR. That's how I live. And the world's HR and everybody's
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. No, there's some interesting. I mean, I always find this stuff because like how you play it into advertising and marketing and sales conversion. Like there's how you even engage with different people. Like it has a noticeable impact on your results. And it's important.
Hmm.
Good times.
So we're talking a little bit about like making plans coming into the spring, and who you're talking to in video, which would be like an outreach method of communication. But I
Yeah.
want you to know that doing videos does get a lot of the people you know to talk to you. Like the way it has made my phone ring recently is great because, like, you don't do this stuff for a while. Like me, I left production and I haven't been as visible. Last year I was kind of a little more visible, but this year I really got to crank it up. And you kind of wonder, like, what if I just start putting up content, but the bar has changed level and now it doesn't work? Turns out that's not the case. So now it's mainly taking that to like the next level because that's what we're talking with our team right now. As we go into March, we want to help everybody focus on the details because, man, if you scale inefficiency, it's nasty. Like if you have not received a phone number and a name during the last 20 open houses, should you do the next 20 or should you work on this?
Ooh. Yeah. That's a
Right?
huge one. Like the amount, and I was very guilty of this when I sold, is I had that belief of like, okay, I just got to keep doing it. Eventually, like it'll just start working.
Well,
So like I had the hustle. I didn't
let's talk
have the
about the
like refinement.
details of it in general.
Yeah.
So first off, I don't know how people convince sellers that open houses are a sales activity because less than 1% of people that buy a house have attended the open house to the house they bought. The world works in a place where everyone is 2 clicks away from a private showing. So they don't need to go to as many open houses. It's like the war has moved from open houses to the internet in some cases. But open houses are a great way to talk to people that don't know yet how they want to express their interest in real estate. It's normally people that live nearby that are thinking, I wonder what this place is like, because then I can take a look at the price and think about how relative I would be to that. Then there's people that are looking on realtor.ca for open houses, and there's a certain group that's just tourists. They just go to open houses, they don't act in real estate. Real estate is one of the most aspirational job of adults. And
Yeah.
some of them just manifest their interest by going to open houses like nobody's business.
Well, Miles has a good point, which I mean, it's talking about the listing launch program. For me, is like that's the only time they do open houses. And that's I was going to make that point as well. It's like for me, open houses, I think are a great first weekend activity. And it also depends on the type of listing you have,
Hmm.
right? Like if I think like so I'll use my anecdotal experience with like this house. We saw it through the open house and bought it because of seeing it
You're
through the
one of
open
the
house.
1%.
But it's because it's a very specific scenario. This is a move up home. We had our first home before this. This is a move up home for a bigger family. We were busy with kids. The only time we could get out was during an open house, and we'd come one at a time because we had a baby who was sleeping. So like for us, way more convenient. So it's like there's probably some homes where that type of scenario, like I remember when I was an agent and I sold in the family areas, that scenario of like one spouse would come and leave, and then the next one would come. That was fairly common.
I don't want
And
to
that's a
rule it out.
very
And your
specific.
your area might be specific. I
Yeah.
know during COVID,
Yeah.
this number rose in places like Vancouver to 6% because the only way you could get to a place before they took offers was an open house.
Yep.
So we do see a range in this, but I think that if you were telling me that you were doing this for this purpose and then you had these measurable results, then you must be doing it for another purpose because this cannot be it.
So the way that
So
we framed it to our sellers and like we work with clients on it for open houses is we're upfront that we're just as likely to get a client for another house as we are to sell yours. And we use that, we framed it as how many offers would come from an open house and not how many clients who actually bought it. Because like sometimes we talk about how many offers we could generate, and we would say like max 10% of offers will come from an open house. But that every extra offer could increase your sale price if we can stack up a couple. So yes, it's a low success percentage, but because it doesn't cost them anything to do it, might as well.
I also like to just keep it in the zone of what's in it for them.
Yeah,
So, what I explain to people is like what Miles was saying is that we are trying to get market feedback so we can make good decisions.
yeah,
So we're going to be getting showings that are hosted by realtors that are not on our team, that are on our team. And the idea behind open houses is we can get public opinion really quickly, which can tell you if you're heading towards an offer or not.
no,
Then also, our teammates are trained to find non-ready buyers. So people maybe like Andrew that come in and they do want to buy, they are capable of buying, but they don't have certainty around that and they don't know how to get from that house to this house. And so we want somebody there that's going to connect those dots so that you can get more offers or a higher potential for offers.
and I'm going to completely change the subject for a second because I'm very curious your thoughts on this. We're interviewing someone with REM. If you had to guess, and I'm not talking about her business specifically right now. It became a very interesting thing. I'd like your opinion, what you think it means for someone's business. So I was looking at the numbers in Ontario. The top team did almost 800 transactions last year, and they had 60 double ends. So
That's
60 of
like
the
a little bit under
800.
10%.
Yes.
So what we're
Now,
talking about is 7.5%, like almost 8 out of 10, or almost 8 out of 100 houses they double end.
okay. So we have someone that we're going to profile because they did 130 ends as a solo agent. So
Uh-huh.
key detail here is solo agent. 130 ends, 80 double ends.
What size is their market?
Ottawa, I believe. So decent size.
Ooh. So that's a sizzle
Uh,
point if it's in a big market. How are you hiding all of these listings from the market so that you're the
so
only one who gets the buyer?
on MLS only shows 90 deals with 20 double ends.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
my bet is she reps a builder. I don't know this yet. My bet is she reps a builder.
Um,
And so she'll put like one house on MLS in the
agreed. Agreed.
area. That's my
Yep.
best bet because then people come in, new builds have less double ending, I think, than like a reset or more double
So
ending because
are
you don't
they
always
double
come in.
ends if they're not her listing? Those aren't
No,
double
they
ends.
are. I think she reps my bet is so we're going to find this out in the interview because we got sent the stats and I'm like, I need more details
No, this,
on this.
all right. I'm betting the stats are cooked because it
Yeah.
means that you rep the buyer to your own listing. She's
Yeah.
using a listing to collect buyers for other properties from the same seller. But if they're not a listing, this doesn't count. You could
Fair.
say, hey, I have this many
Well, she
sales
still
compared to this
represents
many
all of them.
listings.
She would represent all, like,
Oh,
let's
but
say
the
there's
other
a
ones would be
hundred
exclusive.
listings. Yes, because she's
Roger.
the exclusive rep. So this is my bet, and we're gonna interview and find out. But when you hear that of like that high a rate, it's that immediate like something's off. Like I immediately went and checked who had the most double ends, and she had more, but they did 8 to 9 times more sales than she did.
Yeah.
So, and now I'm getting into like, what are those other, like, how could that happen? That's accurate. Cause we had, cause like part of it is like, cause we only showed in like MLS that she did like 93 deals versus like 150 or whatever the actual number was. But we got her broker to like send us their like lone wolf printout that it is accurate.
And also, if she's listed them all, whether they're exclusive or not, if you're saying the ones that bought were a double end,
Yeah.
those other ones, if they did not have buyers, still count as attempts. So the 90 is a question mark for me. I don't care if you have 90 MLS. If you have 150 listing agreements and you sold 130 listings, you don't have a high double end percentage. Well, you might have a high double end percentage, but your actual success rate is the question.
Yeah. Yeah. It just made me
So
super
every
curious
listing
of these.
agreement, exclusive or non-exclusive, counts as a swing,
Yeah.
and every sale counts as like a goal, you know?
Yeah. But now I started looking at like this is what I'm trying to dig into data. Like, where are these other anomalies I can find that finds people's interesting, um, like fact, like what are the stats that we could pull out of MLS to find anomalies of that person has an interesting business case that's worth checking out? And that's
Oh,
where,
so like, well, what are the stats in general?
so
So
we
you
can
could see
pull,
list to sale percentage. You could
yeah,
say list
and see,
price to sale price percentage.
yeah,
You could see number of listings to
days on
sales success
market,
rate. You could
total
see days on.
volume.
You could see number of relists. You'd probably be able to work that out, or you would just see somebody who has way too many listings for the number of sales.
Yeah. The one that I was looking at is, which I got to learn the system better when we were looking at it, is like who has the lowest days on market in an area, but we have to then set and also the highest, but then you have to set a minimum number of transactions. Because like when I sorted by highest days on market, there's people who
Mm.
have like 350 days on market as their average, but they had one listing.
Yeah,
No,
so like maybe
yeah,
saying that like you'd have to define what your minimum
yeah,
is to rule out the outliers based on like a larger statistical group.
no,
But yeah, I would probably show up in your search as an anomaly. Last year,
no,
my list to sale price percentage was 109%.
no. But I'm
But
trying to
that was
figure
over
out how
like
to
30 listings.
use the stats to find interesting cases for us to go interview and find like because I'm always curious like people who are a realtor like do you know that by volume the number one realtor in the US how many they sell? Like it's insane. It's
I
a guy
know the
that
number. Sorry, the you're talking about the number one individual agent?
might even be a team, but he's the by volume this guy sells the most. Or he might have like a small team, but the most volume in the US is in Texas.
Hmm.
He sells like 10,000 homes a year.
Oh, hot damn.
And the anomaly here, when you look at it, because he it's like him and like two admin, is
Oh my goodness.
he basically created a mirror posting service for builders
Hmm.
where they come through him, they can put all their buildings on MLS, and for essentially he's just built tech that takes their listing, puts it on MLS, and then the lead gets to him and auto routes back to the builder.
Yeah, but all right. So, like, as soon as we talk about a concept car like that, we immediately
Yeah,
go to, but what's actually drivable, right?
yeah,
And so, this guy is a really good idea as like a concept. What a neat approach. But should we
no,
all adopt that approach tomorrow?
no.
No.
But it's fun
So,
to
I really
highlight those and
wonder
see
when we
those.
talk about well, like you're talking about like the edges. Like, let's use
Yeah,
stuff that we shouldn't all do to demonstrate what's possible, right?
yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
then here we go with a comment from Miles. I can't believe Korea made MLS mandatory. It was a mistake. Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. I made that very clear to that. I interviewed Janice on camera about it, and I was not a fan of the policy that you have to put on MLS after three
I don't
days.
understand when you talk about the Canadian Real Estate Association.
Yeah.
Their foremost like goal is to make real estate approachable for the public, right? And
That's
like it's the
well,
professionalism of real estate. Like they are a regulatory body. They're definitely not
I,
there to argue our best interest.
so their goal is to protect the realtor brand and protect consumers, which protects the realtor brand. And
So
then
they
obviously
gave less
manage.
options for consumers and realtors to work together.
Yeah. Pretty much. But for that, so the idea behind it, when you look at the argument, was that the study shows people get more homes or get more for their homes when it's exposed to more people on the MLS. And then that was one of their arguments. And the whole point of MLS, the MLS system, is to facilitate cooperation. And when you don't put it on, you're not cooperating or you might not be cooperating. But anyway, there's a lot of different reasons, and I don't agree with any of them. So, but like what it does do is it makes it harder to like game the system. So like they're the bad actors trying to do like backdoor deals potentially. It does make it harder, but I think the harm here is not bigger than like the harm of taking the choice away from people of what they
Yeah.
can do. But
They also need to realize that that this makes a lot of sense with realtor.ca the way it has been in the past, but the
no,
realtor.ca of the future is going to have an incredible amount of power
Yeah.
with rules like this. And, the way that public companies operate, you could end up seeing something that will drastically essentially distort the intention that you're trying to make because you're saying that where the buyers are online and in the systems of real estate is like sunlight, and the best, cleaner is
Yeah.
sunlight, the best disinfectant. But on the other side is that there's things that are damaged by sunlight. Talk to somebody who owns an RV about their tire covers. Talk to there's a whole bunch of things that are diminished by sunlight. Sunlight's super powerful. And is it right for it could be right for the massive amount, but when you make it a blanket policy, you give no
Yeah.
options.
Yeah. I'd be,
So
what I
there's
should
no
do as a
exceptions
REM
here.
thing is I should go find two people on each side of the argument and then just host a debate for them. Like, all
Miles
right,
already
both
has
you
his hand
come.
up. You wait,
Yeah.
it's coming into the chat right now.
He's gonna
No.
come. Yeah, we're gonna have four people, and I'll get Jordana because it's probably not. I'm not the right person to moderate that because I'm very clearly on one side of the debate. So I'll get our
I'm
editor who's
so
unbiased.
argumentative, I can switch. I'm ambidextrous. You want to tell me how to
Yeah.
build this up? I will.
No,
The
I
best
dislike the
disinfectant is
policy.
sunshine. No.
I dislike the policy so much. I don't even know if I do a good job of being unbiased on that one.
Oh, fair.
But there are ones where I can
I
do
just
that.
like the
But
policymakers so much. I have trouble agreeing
I
with
like
any of them.
everyone. Actually, the Korea table for the most part who were involved. I actually like them all. They're all, and I think they did what they think was best for the industry. I just disagree about what was best. I think they're good people doing it.
I like my regulatory bite-sized,
Yeah,
right? I want my government to do property rights. I actually have no idea why they're even involved in marriage. I think you should keep them in a little box and make sure they know that you're the ones who feed them.
yeah. Whole other debate. But all right, we are past the hour, so we have to go to the after show.
Okay.
So
Oh, and for you
yeah,
guys with the after show, and if you're not going to the after show, we're trying out some new ideas where we're actually going to give feedback on some things that are sent to us by some of the people that hang out here.
yeah,
And since we're trialing this, we're going to do this in the after show, and you can't come. But if you did show up here next time by going to the Real Estate Magazine website and clicking through and becoming part of our Zoom audience, well, then you'd be in right now, and we wouldn't be saying, "See you later."
yeah. See everyone, and if you're here live, stick around. We're gonna keep going.